Ms. Harvey, as I recall, we left off with you being escorted, if you will, to a gasoline station / convenience market, a Shell station in Boones Creek. Do you remember that?
Yes.
All right. And this was right after the Preacher Robbins incident,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So you've heard what the cab driver related concerning your discussion with him, your conversation with him. You've heard him describe you the way he did.
Yes.
Do you remember how you were feeling as you were going to the Shell station?
Well, I do remember throwing my phone out the window.
Well, where was that, though?
I'm not sure exactly where it was. I've heard him say where it was. I do remember thinking we're being tracked and followed, and I didn't know where I was going. I do remember tossing the phone out the window.
Well, at that time, you not only have you been, abandoned, if you will, by your friends and by Preacher Robbins, and you're alone. Now you have no phone.
Correct.
You're really alone at that point, aren't you?
Yes.
So you go to the Shell station, and briefly tell us what your interaction was with the authorities at the Shell station.
I don't remember a lot of my conversation with the police.
Okay.
I remember the Jacoby lady. I'm sorry, I don't mean any disrespect. I don't remember her last name. I remember her coming and she kept asking me, was I on drugs? She asked me more than once, was I on drugs? I told her no.
You've heard that before, haven't you?
Yeah. And well, to me, though, marijuana wasn't drugs. That was my medicine. So saying, no, I'm not on drugs, I wasn't. It was my medicine. I just thought she meant like drugs. I remember her making me sign the sheet. At the top, she had written the word hallucinating. And I was like, yeah, right. What am I hallucinating? She told me, do not remove the kids. If you remove the kids, you will go to jail this time. Promise me you're not going to remove the kids. I swore to her, promised her I wouldn't remove the kids.
So what happened? Did Becky show up again?
Oh, yes. Robin
time?
and Becky showed up.
They showed up. What kind of condition? And this was about what time of day or night?
It was that morning.
In the morning?
The sun had finally came up.
Early morning?
It was early morning when we got to the pastor's house. It was just the crack of dawn.
Okay, so this is still morning.
So, on our drive to the Shell, it was daylight, actually daylight.
All right. What was the condition of your friend Robin?
Well, she'd been drinking. She wasn't fit to drive.
And what was the condition of Becky?
Becky was driving.
She appeared to be
She told
sober?
me, I was concerned she was drunk, but she assured me she hadn't been drinking a lot. I believed her.
So what was your understanding about removal of your children, and how did that make you feel?
What do you mean?
Well, your children were removed from you, weren't they?
Yes, sir.
Well, how did that make you feel?
Well, I know I keep saying it, but I was terrified.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, I guess. And where were you going to go?
Well, I headed back to the house. I headed back toward Telford to the house, the trailer we rented.
So you were able to drive?
No.
Oh, no, you didn't
I
have
didn't
a car.
have my car. They towed my car.
Yes, so you're in a cab. You didn't have any cab fare, did you?
No, my friend Suzanne paid the cab fare.
Did you call her or something?
Yes, I did.
If somebody's phone?
Evidently.
You don't remember. but you got your cab fare paid. And then, do I remember somebody saying that you, in trial here, testimony, that you were going to catch a ride or something? You're going to thumb a ride back to Telford?
I don't know. I know the officer wouldn't let me go back in the store. I wanted to ask, could I use the phone? And he said, you threw away your phone and you can walk. And it was snowing again by then, and I didn't have on a coat. I had on a fleece jacket, like a fleece, pullover. And so I started walking.
Is that what happened? You walked to Telford?
No, I didn't walk very far. A nice elderly couple stopped and asked me, was I okay and did I need a ride? And I took a ride.
Called a ride all the way back
They
home?
took me all the way back home.
So you're at home now. You're by yourself. You're sort of excommunicated from your friends, right?
Yes.
Can't communicate with them. In looking back, if you can look back to that time, were you starting to do worse or better?
Worse.
The next time you see your children is when? And for the jury's benefit, are we talking about this occurrence, this Shell Station occurrence on Saturday?
Saturday morning, yes, sir.
Saturday morning. When is the next time that you're able to check on your kids?
Sunday.
The following day.
Yes.
And how did you arrange for that to happen?
I don't know how I arranged it. I don't know that I did arrange it.
What do you remember?
Well, I remember, let's rewind to Saturday. My neighbor took me to get my car. I picked up my car.
Where was your car?
My car was wherever, when they have your car towed, they take it. It was close to wetlands in Jonesboro.
Had it been impounded?
I don't know if you want to call it impounded. Wherever the tow people take it, there's a big old lot full of cars. I picked up my car. I went to Melinda's house. I remember, in my opinion, I was there all day. I was there for a long time. She let me use her phone. I called Comcast and set up, cable, internet, telephone package at my new house over the phone. She told me I could pick up the equipment at the Comcast place in Gray. And I tried to call to talk to Robin. At some point, I did talk to Allie.
Allie being?
Allie, my daughter. At the time, she was only 11. I remember her telling me that she kept seeing a van going up and down the alley, and she was worried about it. And I assured her, it was fine. Somebody's probably just moving or something. And that's why the van keeps going back and forth.
Can I jump to something because I'm afraid I'm going to forget it? Is
Yes.
that okay? You mentioned that your own daughter, is impacted by what you've been saying over the phone.
Yes.
Children hear everything, don't they?
Yes.
On one of the jail calls with Mr. Slattery, you mentioned that something about being concerned that the daughters are going to have a forensic interview. Can you please explain to the jury what you were thinking, what your thought process was about that call?
Well, I had accused Michael of abuse. There was a whole case open. They were investigating him. And I wanted him arrested. Once he gets arrested, I don't have to be terrified for my life anymore because he'll be in prison. So Megan Stark had told me that they were very close to arresting him. And I knew the kids were going to have quote-unquote forensic interviews to question them about the abuse. And I did not want that to happen.
At that point,
It made me really, really sad that they would have to be questioned like that.
Well, at that point, during your incarceration, were you starting to realize that those had been false allegations, or were you not there yet? Or do you know?
Those initial calls when I was so mad at Michael,
No, I'm talking about the forensic interview. Don't let him go to the forensic interview. I don't know when that was. I don't recall.
it was initially when I was trying to get him to bail me out. I thought somehow if I got out of jail, I could stop the interviews from happening.
Well, did you think that the interviews might result in his being arrested and that your children would go into foster care?
I don't know if I was thinking that far ahead.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to ask you about that. Okay, let's go back now. Sorry to break the chain there.
One more thing, they weren't in his custody, so that probably wouldn't have been. They weren't in Michael's custody, the
Right,
kids. They
right.
were with their brother.
Exactly. Okay. So let's go back then to the Saturday. You're with Melinda, your friend, right? It's a part of the day. Do you go over and see Robin Leonard on that date?
I don't remember going over there that day. I remember talking to her and her telling me that her friend Clarissa, I think was her name, Clarissa or Larissa, was going to take the girls shopping to get them some clothes. And I'm like, I've got their clothes. I could drop them off. Why do you need to take them shopping? And she said, don't worry about it, that they were going to handle it.
Okay.
So they didn't have their things. Their things that I had packed for them were in my car. So when they towed my car and took it away that night, then they didn't have their things they needed.
I understand. So you did not get to see the children any on the day?
Not on Saturday.
On Saturday, including the night.
Right.
And then the next day then is Sunday,
Right.
correct? Tell the jury, if you recall, as best you can, what Sunday brought about. What happened on Sunday?
Sunday, well, I was going to get up and go to church, fully intended on going to church that morning over at Jonesboro Baptist still. And I accidentally flooded my whole bedroom. And it took me forever to clean that mess up. So I ended up not going. But I did get ready and go over to Robin's to see the kids. I was going to head to Comcast. It didn't occur to me they were closed. It did not occur to me. All I was thinking is she told me to go pick up my equipment. So I stopped by there to just see them and see how they were doing. I told them I was on my way to Comcast.
Now, on Sunday, when you went over to Robin's place, did you expect that the children would be there?
Yeah.
You knew they would be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us what happened. Tell us what that interaction was like. As you recall.
Allie was in the living room playing, I don't know, not Nintendo, playing a video game. I don't know, Vicky was playing. I don't know what Vicky was doing. Robin was aggravated with me. And I'm like, are you still aggravated with me? Why are you still aggravated with me? And she said, Annette, you climbed out the window with your kids. And I said, only because the pastor told me to. Well, I don't believe that. I said, check the text messages, Robin. The phone that I had been using was a phone she had given me. I had it added as a child account on her account.
On Robin's account?
Yes. And I just assumed she could read my text messages. And I was like, well, check the text messages if you don't believe me. I said, y'all were scaring me. I told you were scaring me. You know how scared I am. And I texted the pastor, and he told me to leave, and I left. And so I talked to the kids for a little while. I hugged Allie. Allie never moved away from her game she was playing. But I hugged her bye. And then Vicky was out back with Robin. She was playing. I hugged Vicky bye. She grabbed me around the legs and wouldn't let go for a long time. And I told her I was going to run over to Comcast and I'd see her soon. It's okay. And I did. I left and went over to Comcast. I didn't realize they were closed till I got to the parking lot. Realized they were closed.
Was that the end of the day for you on Saturday?
Actually, I went back over to Robin's.
You did?
Yes, I went to Walmart. I got some canvases and little paint for the kids, and stopped at CVS to buy myself by this time Michael had put some money in my account. Michael put money in my account. I bought one of their track phones, I think they're called, from CVS. And I dropped back by Robin's to drop off the stuff I got for the kids. And this time I just went to the front door. I didn't want any hugging Mama for 10 minutes. And she had told me that Becky was coming to get the kids because she was going to a birthday party. They were going to go open Christmas presents and stuff, and was trying to get ready. And I didn't want any lingering goodbyes. So I went to the front door and gave her the bag. And she was in a hurry. And Becky will be here at 3, yada yada, and I left.
Now, we're going to move to the next day. Do you remember, I'm going to start early, do you remember, first of all, did you sleep well that night, or do you remember?
I don't remember sleeping well that night. I do remember falling asleep on the couch, sitting up. So I did sleep.
You remember waking up that day?
I remember waking up,
getting up,
sitting on the couch. Yeah.
What's your routine like?
I don't have a routine. My life's been utter chaos.
Do you remember do you remember where you went first on Sunday?
Yeah, I went to Walgreens.
Am I in the right date?
Yes.
This is Sunday or Monday?
Monday
Sorry,
morning. We're talking about Monday morning,
Monday
right?
now. So you went to Walgreens and did what at Walgreens?
Tried to get my medicine. Tried to use the phone.
Why'd you need to use a phone? I thought you bought a phone.
Oh no, I couldn't get that thing set up.
Took a while to get it set up.
Normally, I'm the electronic person who helps everybody with their electronics, but I couldn't complete a thought. I could not figure out how to get my simple track phone set up and make it work.
So it never was activated.
No.
You went to Walgreens to use the phone or for some other purpose?
Both. I mean, I needed to pick up I had my doctor from New Jersey call my meds in, and I needed to pick them up. And while I was there, I was going to use the phone.
Were you broke?
Well, again, yeah, I was. I mean, I was, and then I wasn't. I spent the money he sent me on that track phone.
Now, you've heard me ask a couple of police officers who did searches of the vehicle, and I'm sure the jury's wondering what the significance could possibly be of a sewing machine. Can you explain just briefly what I'm talking about?
Well, I mean, I never would leave it. I'm a seamstress. I've been a seamstress. I've loved to sew since I was a little kid. I learned how to hand stitch as a child, and my babysitter taught me how to make a quilt. I didn't learn how to sew on a machine till I took home ec in the 9th grade. And I've been a seamstress ever since. I made dresses for myself when I was in high school. And that's just what I do. I love it more than anything. So
I told you I know how to use a sewing machine.
yeah,
You laughed at me,
yeah.
didn't you?
Even when I left, packed the car full of everything I could take with me when I left New Jersey.
So in other words,
I made sure I had it.
I guess the question I have for you, if you were going to leave out that day, is there any reason you would not have taken your sewing machine?
If I was planning to leave, I would definitely make sure it was in the car.
So you're at Walgreens. What's the next thing you remember?
Trying to get somebody to let me use the phone.
Right. And did anybody let you use
Nope.
the phone?
No, sir.
How did you make a call?
No.
You didn't.
Nobody let me use the phone.
You couldn't make a call. So what did you choose to do?
Go by Robin's house to check on my kids.
What made you think that or did you think that your children were at Robin's house?
No, I knew the children were at Becky's. I was going to ask Robin to call Becky for me.
What was on your mind?
Check on the kids. Somebody could easily, because the authorities knew where the kids were, they had it on record. They had Becky's address, they had Robin's address. These two people had been vetted to keep my kids. It would have been easy to find them at that point. I wasn't there to protect them. They were in danger.
Is that how you were feeling?
Yes, very much so.
Is that how you had felt in at least a month previous to that, all the way along?
Yeah, but I knew I could protect them, or at least I hoped I could protect them.
Did you feel like something was there a drum beat in your head or something? Or,
What do you mean?
well, did you feel that it was something that was going to happen now?
Yes, I did. I felt a sense of urgency.
So what'd you do next?
I went by Robin's house to ask her to call Becky.
Okay. Where did you drive into Becky's house? Where'd you drive?
You mean Robin's house?
I'm sorry. Robin's house. Do you remember? Did you arrive in the front of her house or the back of the house?
No,
or do you
I
remember?
parked out back.
Is that where you normally parked?
Hmm.
Tell us what happened, if you remember, as you came to the back door.
I remember Robin coming to the door. I remember her. I remember the first thing she asked me was, what was wrong with my speech? Like, what's up with the way you're talking? And I told her I thought I was having a stroke.
You don't, I guess you couldn't possibly remember how you were talking, could you?
I was having trouble off and on. I would have times where I felt like I couldn't get my words out. I would try to say something and it would be very hard to get what I was saying to just come out. It had me worried.
What happened next?
Well, evidently at some point there was an altercation between us.
Do you remember walking into the back or not?
Walking into the back
Yeah,
door?
I mean, did she block you or assault you, or did you assault her, or did anything happen where you had to literally force your way into the house?
No.
You didn't have to force yourself into the house.
No.
You know that there's a jailhouse call where you told Michael that you had to force your way past her or something to that effect.
I heard that call. I said all kinds of crazy stuff on that call.
Do you remember anything after going into the back door of that house?
I remember getting hit with a bat.
Do you remember having a pocketbook on you?
Well, no. I mean, I've been carrying a pocketbook for like 40 years or more, so.
Do you remember feeling any kind of anger, hostility, desire to injure, or anything like that directed toward Robin?
No, of course not. I remember asking her to call Becky. I remember I asked her to call Becky. I do remember that.
Do you remember any harsh words? Do you remember any yelling?
No yelling. She told me no. Well, I told her I wanted her to call Becky and ask Becky to take the kids to Craig and Melinda's house.
Why did you want that to happen, you think?
Because I thought the kids weren't safe at Becky's house. Take them to Craig and Melinda's, they'll be safe there.
Why did you think they would be safe there?
I guess that was the last place that I had left that I felt was safe for us.
Do you know how you ended up in her bedroom? Do you remember anything about being in the bedroom of that house?
On that particular day, no.
Yes. Any memory at all of, you've seen the wreckage that room became.
I know.
Do you remember anything? You remember spinning around and being thrown about, or you throwing her about, or anything? Some kind of terrific fight going on inside that room?
I don't trust my memory, Mr. Spurrell. I know what I think I remember.
Well, I mean, are you saying you have a fragmentary memory or fragments of memory? Or?
I'm saying just bits and pieces of flashes of pictures in my head that I've been trying to put together for 3 years. And I can't put it together.
Well, I think you need to tell us what some of those fragments are, however painful it is. You've heard your jailhouse call where you thought that somebody and that men were coming out of a bedroom with pantyhose over their head and struck you with a bat. You know that's not true, don't you?
I know that's not true.
Were you lying about that when you told that to your husband?
I said in the other phone call that I made it up. At the time that I told him, I don't think I was lying. I remember Robin having a hold of me, like in a, I don't know, almost like a bear hug or I don't know, like a wrestling kind of hold, and trying to get her off me. I remember the bat. I remember seeing red and silver coming at me. I remember that. And I remember trying to run for my life. I couldn't leave. I didn't have my car keys, and so I had to run back in and see where my keys were. So I couldn't see. My head was gushing blood. It was blocking my. It was hard to see. And
Do you have any recollection of going to the freezer and getting an ice?
I remember grabbing ice out of the freezer.
Do you remember seeing Robin?
Hmm? Yes.
Tell the jury about that.
When I ran back in the back door for my keys, I looked and there was my keys right there on the floor. She stood up. In my mind, she had been bent down to pick something up and then stood up. She may have very well been sitting there. I don't know. But she stood up and she looked at me and I looked at her. Our eyes met. And we just locked eyes and didn't unlock eyes. So I went to the freezer, grabbed ice, stuck it on my head, and ran out.
Had you retrieved your pocketbook at that point?
No, I just needed my keys. I just grabbed my keys.
Did you not think about your pocketbook?
No.
Do you think that if you had walked into that house with the intent to harm your friend, that you would have carried your pocketbook in?
No.
Would that make any sense?
No.
Do you remember driving out of the driveway?
I'd say yes.
Do you remember hitting something? Hitting a fence?
I remember just having trouble getting out. I mean, like, you have to back out. So I don't remember hitting the fence.
Were you bleeding at the time? At this
My
time?
head was pouring. I was having trouble seeing, which I guess was why I couldn't back out.
Did you notice whether you had whether your bladder had opened?
No,
that
I didn't
time?
notice that at all.
When
That was total news to me.
When did you notice that?
I didn't. I learned about that from all this evidence, and I was told that.
Well, you've seen your genes.
I saw my genes.
What was your thought process as you finally got out onto the roadway, if you remember?
Well, as I was running out the back door, I thought I was going to get shot at. I thought next somebody's going to shoot me. That I had to run away. Because, I mean,
Where did you go?
I was going to just try to go somewhere where they couldn't find me. The people that was trying to kill me. And I had to find a needle and thread and sew my head up.
Did you make a conscious decision, or do you remember making a conscious decision to drive to Bristol?
I remember deciding to head in that direction
You know why?
to try and get to safety.
We know, don't we, that I think you said something about stopping at a convenience market and somebody gave you a pop or something. Do you remember that or not?
Not clearly.
All right. Do you remember getting to a pizza place or a pizza inn? Some pizza joint up in Bristol.
Pizza Plus.
Pizza Plus. Do you remember that? Being there?
I remember going in. Yes, sir.
You still did not have a telephone, correct?
Right.
Did you make a call? Do you remember making a call?
I asked him, could I use the phone?
Do you remember making that call? We've heard it.
Not particularly. I mean, now that I've heard about what happened, I mean, is it actually part of my memory or because I just heard that it happened? You know what I mean? I know I asked the lady for a needle and thread to sew up my head.
She didn't give you that, did you?
No.
So you described the police officer coming in, and he's a large, intimidating fella, isn't he?
Very.
And you complied, of course, with him, and it sounds like he was very gentle and caring for you. Do you agree?
He was scary. I don't think he intended to be, but he had a very loud, authoritative voice, and I was very afraid of him. I remember saying, please don't kill me. And he said, I'm not going to kill you. So I was like, please don't hurt me.
Well, that man didn't hurt you in any way, did he?
No.
And in fact, he was helpful and got you some. You remember him getting you some napkins and putting pressure on your wound? You don't remember?
No, sir, not at all.
All right. What's the next thing you remember that day?
I can remember sitting in the ambulance and the cops, like they were around my car and talking about my car. I remember that.
Remember being at the hospital?
Yes.
Being and complaining about, just I can't remember what it was, maybe a jailhouse call where you're complaining about being in handcuffs behind your back or something. You remember that?
I remember being handcuffed to the bed.
Bed. All right. You remember the officer coming and you being, you allowing yourself to be photographed?
Very vaguely.
Okay. All right. Obviously, you were not free to go, and you were arrested, and you were taken where? To Jonesboro Jail?
They took me to CID.
To CID. Okay. And then after that, you were taken to the jail.
Yes.
Is that right? And at the jail, did you ask to be photographed anymore?
Well, I had my video arraignment at some point.
Okay. It wasn't that day though, was it?
No, I was there. I feel like it was late at night when I got there, but I don't know if it was the next day or the next day. I don't know. But I know I had a video arraignment. During the video arraignment, I held my arms up like this so the judge could see my bruises. And she said, "What are you showing me?" And I said, "I'm showing you all my bruises." And she said, "Have the officers take photos of those."
Do you remember whether that was Judge Harden or not?
I have no idea who. It was a female judge. That's all I know.
Well, and what did the judge say?
After she said to take photos.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Okay.
She said take photos?
Yes.
She said that to a bailiff or something, or to the state?
I kind of feel like she was talking to me. There was officers standing right beside of me. So.
Right. But that never happened, did it?
No.
Were you, in fact, bruised?
Yes, sir.
When did those bruises begin to show?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. What do you remember where the bruises were?
I feel like I had them all over me.
Well, but you remember that, or you don't remember that?
I remember seeing bruises, and I remember asking every officer and every nurse that I could to take pictures of my bruises. The judge said so. Nobody would. I remember having a nurse look at my bruises on one of my arms because it was causing me a lot of pain. I had a lot of pain. And she was describing to me what they looked like. I couldn't see them.
The back of your arms?
Yes.
Well, we've heard the jailhouse calls. You've heard them now. Are they remarkable to you?
Yes.
In what way?
Because I feel like I'm hearing it for the first time. It doesn't sound like me. It's like it's not even me. It's somebody else.
Has it been hard for you to deal with what kind of dysfunctional thinking you may have had during that time, as time has gone on?
Yes, sir.
Do you realize that now?
Now, after this week, I realize a lot of things.
Did you start getting some medication for your anxiety at the jail?
The nurse practitioner put me on something. I don't know exactly what he said it was for, but I remember talking to him and telling him that if everybody around me is in danger, then it's a good thing I'm in jail.
How did you take that?
What do you mean?
How did you take a comment like that?
I made that comment.
Oh, you made the comment.
Yes, sir.
You said what again?
I told the nurse practitioner that if everybody around me was in danger, then I was glad I was in jail.
Were you interviewed by this staff person?
Not really interviewed. I told him I felt like I was freaking out. He said, "What did that look like for you?" And that's when I said, "About everybody around me is in danger."
So, do you remember when you were placed on this medication?
I don't remember what day it was or any
Right,
time frame.
right, okay. Has it made a difference for you?
Evidently it did. I mean, did it? I mean,
How do you feel today?
I'm pretty upset right now. I'm very alarmed by all this information.
You feel like you have a ways to go?
Probably. I'd like to find out.
I'm going to sit down now. Okay.